Hello and welcome to episode 11 of A House in France. We're recording this on Friday the 16th of September 2011 and thank you for watching. Luckily I'm not here on my own, I'm here with my co-host Lloyd Arrow. Lloyd, welcome back to the studio.
And it's great to be back in the studio again. And just to give you an idea of how far this programme actually goes out to, had an email from someone in South Africa. Whilst they're not actually looking to buy a property in France at the moment, they're enjoying the programme.
That's great. I mean, that's one of the things about the internet and this show is, you know, we get listeners or viewers from all sorts of places getting in touch. So we do have some ideas about interacting with our viewers a bit more. We'll come to those at the end of the show. Now, Lloyd and I aren't here on our own. We're here with our producer, Peter. So, Peter, thanks very much for looking after us again. It's been one of those trying days where Peter thought it was going to be a nice, easy show with a nice, easy script to follow, and we've been messing around with it somewhat rotten, haven't we, Lloyd?
Yet again. I've been recently asked by someone who's moved back to the UK from Sweden that they're actually looking for a property in France, and they said where was the cheapest place to buy a property in France?
Good question. Good question.
There's not a specific area. France is a big place, as you're aware. Demographically, it changes quite a lot. And again, buying a property in France, it really depends on what kind of property you're looking for. Whether it's a renovation project, someone to rent out, somewhere as a holiday home, somewhere you want to move to permanently. It makes a big difference on where you actually choose. The only main advice we would say is obviously do your homework, which I think we've mentioned that on quite a few episodes. The Limousin area has some of the cheapest properties, namely the Corrèze, but bear in mind these are quite rural sort of areas and won't necessarily have all the facilities you're looking for. But if you're looking for somewhere quiet, rural, away from it all kind of thing, then it's an ideal sort of location. So that's a good place to start. You can actually get a total renovation project for around about €8,500. I actually looked up this last week, which was quite a challenge, shall we say.
$8,500. I haven't seen anything that price for a long, long time. So I assume for $8,500 you get sort of 4 pieces of stone and, you know, a bit of grass.
And no, this one actually had 4 walls. It was sound construction. It had a roof. However, the roof itself, I would have said it would have been a total change. So with that, you'd really want to, it's the sort of thing that if you're a builder or if you want it as a renovation project, then it's an ideal place. But as you say, it's probably not many people that are after something like that. You can get in the Languedoc area, which is where I'm having the property built. There's property there that's I wouldn't say it's a bargain, but they're reasonable prices. Again, that sort of area is quite good from the point of view you've got choices of whether you want the Mediterranean side or whether you want to go to the sort of Pyrenees. So there's kind of like options for both from that point of view. Whereas that Limousin is kind of like in the middle of the country, not exactly, but it's away from it all type of thing. In the Languedoc area, the cheapest department for that is the Hérault, which is kind of like the northern sort of sector, but still on the Mediterranean side. Property there is still quite reasonable. If you're looking for somewhere that's a hop over the channel, then with that, a lot of people want somewhere they can go to for a short weekend breaks type of scenario. Property I found there in the Brittany, namely Finistère sort of region. With that, they were looking at properties around about 32.5-ish sort of thousand. So there are properties out there. You can get quite a few properties if you're sort of looking at the sort of budget end under 100k. then if you're after something like that, it's worth getting in at the moment, because bargains like that aren't going to stay around for much longer.
No, I think there are very few and far between. Where we are down in the Dordogne, I haven't seen any bargains for a long time. In fact, what you do see are some very run-down properties have been for sale year after year after year, and people don't seem to want to drop the prices. I think if the French don't need the money, they'd rather wait for the market to increase until they get what they think it's worth. And of course, the market in the last few years hasn't been very good, and prices have have probably. Last I saw, they said they were sort of back at where they were a couple of years ago, but I think a house is only worth what someone is prepared to pay for it at the end of the day. I'm surprised you found some reasonable properties, for under 100,000. In the Dordogne, it's obviously a fairly expensive area because it is, a tourist area, especially along the Dordogne River and around Bergerac, who are very popular with visitors. And we are in the north of the Dordogne, and that we found was about 25% cheaper than along the Dordogne River, for example. Lloyd mentioned the Limousin and Corrèze. Now we are not far from that at all, and the properties there are probably at least 25% cheaper than where we are. And it's still quite a popular area. I mean, if you go into Limoges Airport, which is the where most people fly into to go into the Limousin, you see lots of people still looking for houses, properties still available. So it is a very, very popular area for Brits at the moment. Now, with with having a house, we've had one for coming up for 6 years now. You're building your house. You haven't yet had to face closing it up for the winter, have you?
No, and I'm not sure it's actually something I'm looking forward to. However, I'm not sure it affects me probably as much as it do being so far down in the south.
So do you have frosts where you are?
I believe speaking to locals, the last frost they had was about 4 years ago. The last time before that was something like 50 years ago, so probably not too much of a worry.
Well, we do have to worry about frost. I mean, the main thing that we're concerned about is burst pipes. So we drain the system down and make sure that that any pipes that we can't drain down that are in the cave or whatever on the main supply are very well insulated. Obviously, what you don't want to do is to have a pipe burst, even with the water off, come back in the spring, and the place has had a pipe dripping, and you then have to get it fixed, etc. Much easier just to drain the system down and avoid that problem. The other thing we do, two other things that we do. One is that we turn the electricity off for most of the house. We do keep it on in a couple of areas for our security systems and CCTV systems, etc. But it's off for the rest of the house. And then the third thing, and almost the most important thing we do, is that anything that could be eaten by various local members of the wildlife population is picked up from the floor, like the curtains are lifted up, all the bedding is put away, the beds are moved away from the wall, etc., etc. And in this way that we minimise the chances of any damage from the mice who every year manage to get into the house. We always have just one or two have found their way in. And where there's one or two, there's more somewhere.
Yep.
We have old oak floors, and it's impossible to seal all the holes. And you seal them all that you're aware of, and there's a new hole next time you come down. So we still have to try and live in harmony with them, where the view is that we'll have the place for the summer, you can have it for the winter.
You say that. One of the other things, whilst I'm not looking at the security, we'll probably come on to that on another episode, is you say one thing we mentioned in the previous episode was about swimming pool. Right.
So, yeah, that's actually a very good point, because it probably takes us longer to winterise the pool than it does to winterise the house. What we have to do is to seal. So we have to put our hands in the water, which is normally cold by the time we do it, and put bungs in all the inlets and outlets. That seals them. And then down in the equipment room, which actually is below the level of the pool, we can then open up the joints on the pipes and drain all that out. We drain the two pumps. We drain the sand filter. We take out the element for the automatic pH, put it in clean water, and then there's just a couple of pipes left that we can't drain, and they're on the main feeds, the main drains from the pool. And with those, we then just make sure they're very well insulated, and we cover them with lilos, which is a great thing to do with the lilos. You don't totally deflate them, you just deflate them a little bit, and you put them over those pipes and make sure that they are very well insulated, because if those pipes cracked, it would actually drain the whole pool, the cover would come down into the pool, and it'd probably rip the liner, and it would be extremely expensive. So that's not something we want to happen. So we take extra care in winterizing the pool.
So with that in mind, when are you actually looking to go and sort of close out the property?
So we're going to close up the property in October. That's what we do every year. In fact, we enjoy our week in October probably more so than any week during the year, because it's normally sunny days. I mean, you know, cold at night, have a fire at night time. There's normally some chestnuts for roasting on the fire. You know, it is that with some winter pims, a roaring fire. It's just wonderful. Our favourite week normally. And we've actually just booked to go out in October, and we booked our 2 tickets. And this booking process made me mad. Now, you have heard me go on about this and on about it, so I'll try and be brief, but I'm incensed by this. We love flying Flybe. Flybe, a great airline. The staff are friendly, the planes are nice, they run the routes we want. And I look at them as being a cut above the budget airlines. They might not be, you know, up there with some of the, Premier League, British Airways or whatever, but they are a great airline. But they have been making adjustments to their website, which really make them more like some of the, real budget airlines. And they are just driving me mad. And they got me incensed this week when I booked. For example, I'm just going to go through it quickly. It used to be that they said, do you want to book a seat? And it costs you £5 per passenger per way, each way. And you could say, just ignore it and carry on. Now, they automatically allocate you those seats. Unless you go in and deselect them, they charge you for it. So there's £20 if it's on 2 tickets. You then, of course, have got the try and sell you insurance. That's still fairly easy to get rid of. They then come and do the things on baggage, which is now £12.99 for a 20 kilograms bag each way. When Jim French, the CEO of Flybe, first introduced this, and I think they were the first airline to do this, he took a pound off of the price of a ticket and then charged £2 for a bag. Well, of course, that pound off the price of a ticket soon, effectively evaporated. You can't see whether it's been put back in. And it's gone from £2, went to £5, to £7.99, to £12.99. And so you have to do that. So, that's £26 to take a bag. And then the other thing then that really got me is these credit card charges. Unless you have an Electron card, which very few people have, you have to, even if you just have a debit card, you have to pay charges. And to put it on a credit card cost well over 10% of the cost of the airfare, all right? If you know anything about credit cards, the credit card companies charge them anywhere between 1% and 4%. I suspect they're paying nearer 1% than 4%. So they are making a lot of money off of these charges. I think it's the Office of Fair Trading are looking into these charges on credit, and especially on debit cards, which there is the thought that they couldn't do it. So. And they've now split that £26 charge, whatever it is, £22 charge, into 2 elements, a credit charge fee and a transaction fee. I'm sorry, Flybe, you are much better than this. Just put it's not the total, it wasn't the total amount that got me. It was the fact that they seem to be being, underhand in the way that they are charging for the fares. but at least the taxes are now included up front. And I think that the only reason I think that happened is because there was EU or government legislation which was either implemented or threatened that made them do it. But this is it just made me mad. I was happy with the price of the tickets. I was just not happy with the way that their website is. That they come on, Flybe, you can fix it.
So time to move on before Mark explodes. Generally speaking, in most of our episodes, we try and put in a few websites. And for my website, for this episode, we're going to be looking at the National Institute of Statistics, which is kind of like the equivalent of our Office of National Statistics here in the UK. It's filled with all sorts of statistics, from population to how many people under the age of 25 live in a certain village, to how many people are born in a particular area, and so on and so forth. It also gives you information where you can actually see how many Brits have actually moved into the UK in your area, and which may be quite something that some people are looking for, where you might want to move to a place that is either full of expats or not, as the case may be. And if we look at the next screenshot, apart from all the statistics, there's some quite good graphical information, of which there is a lot that you can download yourself. There are in spreadsheet format, so you can use that information yourself there. So
that last image then was population density, was it? Yeah. Where the red is more people and the white or whatever is
rural.
Rural. Yeah, I'm in a rural area and I like it like that. I did see some comparison between the UK and France, and there were areas where the UK has got 10 times the number of people than some areas of France. Yeah. So it's some good data. It's worth looking at. I mean, some people might seek out the red areas. I mean, maybe that's what they want. Now, I've just about calmed down from talking about booking flights with Flybe, but my website is looking at flights. And this is I think it's a fairly new page on the FrenchEntrée.com website, and this allows you to find your local airport and see the routes down into France. And this is very important. This is a very important bit of research for you to do when you are looking at buying a house, because what you want to do is to find 2, 3 or 4 routes down to France in the area that you're looking at, and that will then give you a search pattern. We had a sort of a triangle. We had Bordeaux, Bergerac and Limoges, and it sort of gives you a funny triangle, but we were looking within that area. And that gives you a safety margin, because the airline that flies from your local airport might decide the route isn't viable anymore and cancel it. Then, so where we are, we can fly to Limoges, we can fly to Bergerac, we can fly to Bordeaux, we could probably fly to La Rochelle with a bit of a push, and Brive Airport, they're trying to develop flights. So we could fly to any of those and still get to the house. What you don't want to do is to have a place that's only near one airport, and if you want to go out for the weekend and they close that route, you end up driving 200 kilometers or miles late at night or early in the morning, what have you, to get there or to get your flight back. So I'd check out that website, and it's a great piece of very useful site to do your research when looking to buy a house.
Yeah, we did much the same, in that we looked at airports. Obviously, transport links are crucial when you're looking to buy somewhere abroad. And we did similar sort of things, sort of triangulated various airports to look into. And also you have to bear in mind that some flights only run their seasonal, so that don't run all year round.
And frequency is also seasonal. On our route down to Limoges in the summer, it's almost every day. I think it's 5 or 6 days a week from Southampton. Whereas in the winter, I think it goes down to once a week at the really quiet weeks. So, but you're right, some airlines don't fly at all and only fly summer routes, or if it's a ski resort, only fly winter routes, etc., etc. So I hope those sites are useful. The full addresses of them will be on the website. Go to www.ttfn.tv and you click on the House in France link and go to the episodes, and you'll find information that we put there. Now, I mentioned at the start of this episode that we're looking at ways of becoming more interactive with our audience. We are getting emails in. And something that we've done on another show, Lloyd and I would like to consider doing for this show. And that is doing a House in France live, where we wouldn't record it. We would, which means we can't make mistakes then, Lloyd. Or if we do, we just have to laugh about them. And we do make lots of mistakes. But we do it live. And the big advantage that has is with streaming it on the internet is that we can have a chat room, and you can join the chat room and you can ask questions. And our producer, Peter, will look at the chat room, and he can read the questions out. So if you want to know, what tractor do you think I should buy to cut my 5-acre field? You can ask that question. Peter will read it out, and we will try and answer it. And if he
knows.
Yeah, and I do know that answer to that one. And I have a lot of useful information on that anyway. And we'll try and answer. But if we don't know the answer to it, we'll ask other people. Maybe other people will join the chat room. And this is a way that we can help mould the show to what you want. But we don't want to do this if we're the only people who are watching on our monitor. We only want to do it if you think it's useful. So if you'd like to see an episode of A House in France live with Lloyd and I, and we'd probably run it for about an hour once a month, something like that, at least initially, then do drop us an email. We need to know, because we're not going to do this if there isn't much interest. We have hundreds and sometimes thousands of viewers of the podcast, so there's lots of you out there. So drop an email to ahif@ttfn.tv and just say, yes, I'd like to watch A House in France live, and please do it on a weekday evening or a Saturday lunchtime or whatever. Just suggest some times when you think it would be best. We assume that evenings would be the best time.
And that is it for this episode of A House in France. And we hope you'll join us again on the next episode.
Okay, and we'll see you again. A bientôt.